Okay, so what we're going to look at today is evidence of evolution in different things. So if you're looking at this rock layer, what you're looking for is that organisms that are down here at the bottom are going to be older than the organisms up top. And so when you're looking at evolution, organism changes as a result of different adaptations that are going on in the environment. There's two types. You've got gradualism, which is the gradual change, and then you've got areas where if you see rapid change, that is more punctuated equilibrium. When you're looking at one time, there was the United States, and all that was considered to be right a part of this one supercontinent called Pangea. And so you would expect that if you were to dig up the fossil layers, that the organisms that were between the Scandinavian coast and Europe and North America would be similar because they were once connected together. So I'm going to change this slide up a little bit, and I marked out I'm going to use this box right here to show homologous structures and this box to show analogous structures. Remember that homologous structures are the same structures. It shows common ancestry, whereas analogous, it is the same function and it's a result of convergent evolution. So the structure that supports the theories of common ancestry would be homologous structures. Remember here, vestigial structures are reduced structures. So that's like the whales, the bones that are the femur bones that we find in whales. If I look for the best evidence of evolution, please make sure you know biochemical evidence. That is the best evidence. If I'm looking at which two are most similar, you're looking at the sequences of amino acids, and obviously these two are the most similar because they have them all the same. Which would be the next one that's most similar would be the gorilla. And then which one would be least likely would be zebra and humans. All right, so the way you read embryological structures is this is generation two, not generation, sorry. This is week 1, week 2, week 3. And these are the different organisms. And you can see that the rabbit and the human, and basically all of these that are right here are going to be more similar. The human and the fish are going to be the ones that are more different. Okay. So in terms of natural selection, how do we see changes in a population? Those that are more adapted are going to survive. That's what natural selection is all about. And if we're looking at an observer made detailed observations about its birds and its song over the past 2 years, one day she noticed that the bird song had changed. She postulated that the natural selection caused this change. Why is that wrong? And it's too short of a time. Natural selection takes place over long periods of time. It doesn't happen in a year to 2 years. All right, looking at this food web, we're going to answer some questions about natural selection. So if that mice was to get darker and camouflage it from predators, what would happen to its population? Its population would go up. If I look at the mouse that has the ability to burrow underground, suppose that the climate in the forest became drier over time and snakes have a mutation that allows them to dig in the earth. So what would happen to the snake population? It would get bigger and grow. If the eggs of the snake and reproduction fare better in wetter soils than in the forest, how would the reproductive successes be affected? And the reproductive success will decrease because if their eggs doesn't develop, then they're not going to grow. So things and words that you need to be familiar with in terms of evolution. Genetic drift is always by chance. That's the key word. There's less variation. And if it's a bottleneck type thing, maybe a storm came in and wiped everything out. Genetic drift by founder's effect. These mean the same thing. It's all by chance. It's all going to cause less variation. But this would be like a birds that are in a few isolated population move to a new island. Gene flow and migration. This is removing genes or moving from a new place. And when you do that, you're going to take your genes. Well, if you increase migration, it can create some more variation, like birds flying south for the winter. Okay. Mutations are changes in DNA. They're going to give us new genes, like, for example, a camouflage rabbit that is living in the Arctic. If it's camouflaged and becomes white, then it can survive. All right. With taxonomy, you need to know the order. It's always domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. The two names that make up the scientific name are the genus and the species. In this chart, just remember prokaryote and eukaryotic cells, okay? So cell types, you just need to know for the cell types, the two prokaryotic kingdoms are the bacteria kingdoms. All other things are eukaryotic. In terms of nutrition, these three are going to be autotrophic, along with plants, and some protists and some fungi, and all animals are going to. All fungi and all animals are going to be heterotrophic. All right, dichotomous key. So when you're looking at this, dichotomous key, it asks you to identify the different birds. So if I look at bird W, okay, so here's bird W. The beak is relatively long and slender. And yes, that would be that one. So now let's go to bird X. Bird X, is it a short beak? Yes, and heavy. So we're going to go to 2. Is the bottom surface lower, flat, and straight, or is it curved? And it's curved, so we go to 3. Is the lower edge of the upper beak, does it have a distinct bend in it? No, so that's going to make it this word right there. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. So that's how you do a dichotomous key. You start with the first one. If it applies, you go to where it tells you to go until you've keyed it all out. The last thing that I want you to write down is with evolution, there are a lot of things that happen in evolution, okay? Overpopulation, genetic variation, struggle to survive, and successful reproduction. That's what leads to evolution, okay? You have an overproduction of offspring. Some of those organisms have a variation that make them survive or likely to survive. Those that struggle will die out. Those that survive will continue to reproduce, okay?